Okay, here we go. Hey, it's I have new headphones. This is Hot D episode 3. And
That's
they
fine.
should sound better. You there?
I'm here.
Okay. Now I was gonna say it's different because now we're not in the same room. You're in an adjacent room. But when anybody sees this, in case you're wondering why it's taking so long, I'm gonna put out episode 2 and 3 back to back because unfortunately, when the show comes out, I go right to work. She goes to bed. She has work in the morning. Plus, I'm not complaining, but my friend Lance has me talk House of the Dragon. I'm doing my Tuesday rewatch at Loser Lounge. I, do other stuff like my low bar reviews. So on top of me working 60 hours a week, I am very busy. So these episodes take longer to edit because, I have to keep telling people, audio isn't for some people a big issue, but for me, anytime I'll filter this out whenever I take a big breath, like that part you're not going to hear. I do get anal about audio because, me and Susan are sitting down with you guys. This might be an hour, hour and a half, but if you're going to listen to us ramble on about House of the Dragon, I at least want the audio to sound as crisp and clear as possible. So I do take more time to edit my videos, but they are authentic. I'm editing the videos. No one else is. You can tell I'm fucking up my words right now. But now, Susan, to your credit, or what is before we get into that, what is episode 3? Because it's always funny whenever the show goes live. There's never a name for the episode. What's the official name for episode 3?
So I couldn't tell you even if I tried.
Jesus Christ! What are you
I
here for?
really couldn't. Because I don't fully pay attention to the episode name a lot of times. I'm just like, I'm in it. I'm in it, watching what's happening, seeing like what the whole thing is. So for me, like, though everyone else is very much along lines of like, oh, we're up to episode like 98 titled Damon's Penis. I'm not going to like pay attention to that.
Well, if you couldn't guess what this episode is called, so hi, this is episode 3 called The Burning Mill, which I
Oh,
wonder why. Yeah.
okay, that
Also, hopefully this
I
episode,
mean it
this,
makes sense, but at the same point, like
mm,
that's just one little aspect of the episode.
yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully this episode with us should be a little bit shorter since, I love you, but I'll say something like, hey, Susan, so who's this character? Well, this guy's name is Huel. Okay. Then you're like, having said that, now 9 minutes later, the history of Huel, the history of the dragons, Targaryens, what Huel's kids was named, what the family dog was, and his one son had a pet goat that had a name as well. And I'm just like, thank you, Susan. I appreciate telling about Huel and the 9 minutes of dialogue that I didn't need, but
Okay,
appreciate
cool.
it.
Fine. Just see how it is.
Well, I did ask you, like, do you think that, Matt Damon wants the throne from Viserys? And no, he never did. And then you're like, having said that, I'm like, oh God. And you did a 10-minute recap the entire first season. I'm like, I know, I watched it with you.
Yeah, but you also call him Matt Damon. You don't call him actually
Yeah.
Damon.
All right. So episode 3 called The Burning Hill. Let's get into this, boys and girls. Now,
Right.
previously, The Burning Mill Hill. I'm already fucking up. See, it's the alcohol. All this delicious Mike's Hard Lemonade. But yeah. All right. So this is House of the Dragon episode 3. Previously on, the two twins killed each other, and all because of Kristen Cole was a douchebag.
Yep.
All right. And this black dude, what's his name? Aaron. He'll be important
That's
later on.
Alan of Holt.
Alan. Okay, cool. Of course, Damon. It's a mistake, Rhaenyra. You fucked up. Take your baby dragon moon dancer, fly around. Kristen Cole and Aegon pissed off Otto. All right,
Mhm.
and then he's no longer hand to the king. And these
No.
two have some sweet, passionate love making.
Oh yeah.
The twins fight, and then we get down to wiener, wiener, wiener.
So not to go off base, but in the opening they added something.
Okay.
Remember how I told you that they always go and as like the episodes progress, they add more to the lineage?
Okay.
They added Jaehaerys's death and they showed the small child with like the severed head.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, I keep saying I'm not a big YouTuber with a million subscribers, so I'm not going to show the entire opening sequence, but I'll take your word for it since I'm just being careful. I'll show some footage here and there, but all right. So episode 3, House of the Dragon. And we get a very good, and I will always, even in bad shows like The Acolyte, show some excellent wide shots. Great wide shot right here. Just showing the countryside. What was that?
That's of the Riverlands.
Oh. And basically we have two opposing factions. We have he yells Bracken. And these two different factions, they don't like each other. There's some bullying, and next you know they to Starland, and they go into this whole thing about Rhaenyra, the false queen, Aegon, and these two factions don't like each other. And I'm sure you know the history of these factions, Susan, but your false queen Rhaenyra is a kinslayer, and ooh, but Aegon Targaryen is no true king. Ooh, and they start laughing at him. Davos, I recognize that name somewhere.
So
Me.
the houses in question are House Bracken and House Blackwood. They have been rivals for many, many years. The reason why the name Davos is very familiar is because the Onion Knight from Game of Thrones, his name was Davos Seaworth.
That's where I got it from. Okay, yeah, the Onion Knight. Now, as my buddy Lance said, some people were criticizing this episode because upcoming there's a big battle sequence, which we see the aftermath. Now, Susan, would you have preferred showing this battle sequence? My friend Lance and my friends Nadia said they didn't mind this because it's just showing the aftermath, but some people feel like, so far this season, it's not the action packed and they would have liked to see a big battle scene.
This battle sequence not being presented, it's neither here nor there for me. Like, they could have shown it, it wouldn't have added anything. They didn't show it, it doesn't take away anything.
And I do like this scene. Want to hear your opinion on it? That the brothers they died, but Rhaenyra, to her word, she tells them that she cannot fault him for keeping his oath, and she still feels like these brothers should be buried together. I did like that part of Rhaenyra.
Absolutely. Rhaenyra is very empathetic when it comes to a lot of things. Eric died protecting her. Arik, he was given orders. He was told, hey, end this war before it begins, kill Rhaenyra. They both they had oaths, they kept to their oaths, they did what they needed to do. And in the end, they still loved each other, but they both were on opposing sides. So, by all accounts, like, yeah, she did the right thing.
This upcoming sequence was my favorite sequence in the entire episode, only because Rainey's basically breaks down the Otto Hightower, and I've said this before that Otto Hightower, you can hate the guy, but he doesn't want what's going on right now. He does want peace. He does want what's best for the realm. And Rainey's basically tells Rhaenyra that he didn't want this. That and I do like the whole like this is what happens with war. With war, it's like okay, who struck first? Who came? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? She breaks down your son. Yes, your son Luke got killed, but also Aemond was wrong by getting slashed in the eye, losing an eye. Now we have a dead baby. It's like what point when is enough is enough? Rhaenys tells Rhaenyra, well, the way to basically end this war and just come to terms is Alicent Hightower. She doesn't want this as well, and she did write to you, but of course Rhaenyra's like, well, I didn't read her letter yet, and she says there is no war so hateful to the gods as a war between kin. And I'm like, that's just powerful. And Rhaenys, for me, this sequence held it down because she's putting Rhaenyra, putting her in check and letting her know where her mind should be at as a ruler.
Well, you have to understand, Rhaenys has been through this. Rhaenys, I've talked about it in the past. I'm not going to go all into it again. But if Rhaenys had gone to war against Viserys, and between her dragon, her husband's ships, and whatever loyal men would follow her, she very well could have become queen. But she didn't go to war with her cousin because she loved her cousins. And I specifically say cousins because Viserys, Daemon, and Aemma are all her cousins. And Rhaenyra and Aegon, they might not be as close, but they are closer related. They are siblings.
What she did is not her, but her men who seek the bloodshed. And she's right. And this is funny because it's like, what was it? Daemon is more bloodthirsty on Rhaenyra's side, but then you have Aegon and Aemond are more bloodthirsty on Alicent's side. So it is a cliche that all the men want bloodshed, and two mothers, Rhaenyra and Alicent, they do want peace.
And that's why Rhaenys stays so close to Rhaenyra, because she sees Rhaenyra doesn't want to go directly to war.
Yeah, if anybody hears background noise, we are in New York State, and there's a lot of fucking fireworks, and I'll try to filter out what I can, but unfortunately, it's 4th of July, boys and girls. Well, technically July 3rd, but you know what I mean. But we have back to Kristen Cole, this nice douchebag that he is. Oh boy. And back to the council. Aemon talking about the different houses while he updates them with House Bracken, the Blackwoods, and Aegon's court here. These guys going back and forth, which I keep forgetting. The Targaryen. Oh God, the Lannisters.
So that's Tyland Lannister.
Yeah,
And he makes a good point. It doesn't matter what the Brackens and the Blackwoods would have been fighting about. It doesn't matter if one chose Rhaenyra and the other chose Aegon. It wouldn't have mattered if they both chose the same side. They would find a reason to fight with each other. So it's not like they're doing it out of loyalty to the king or the queen. They're doing it out of hatred towards one another.
he's raising a great army of Casterly Rock. Like I remember that name from Game of Thrones. Kristen does say that the Riverlands are the key to war, and that
And
you
they
have,
are.
and Kristen is the hand of the king, but Alicent is like giving it back to Kristen, which is kind of like how much power does Alicent have at the table? Because right now Kristen's the hand of the king. Doesn't the hand of the king override what Alicent's title is?
Oh yeah, Allison is the only queen to sit in on these councils before Cersei because of the fact that and Cersei had to due to the fact that Joffrey was a kid. Alicent doesn't need to sit in on these meetings because Aegon is a fully grown man.
Yeah.
Aemond is technically a fully grown man.
Now they mentioned right here the word Harrenhal, which I know that sound because that came from last episode. But they want to go to Harrenhal. We know who's heading to Harrenhal, and it's Daemon. He tells Aemon to take Vhagar and go to Harrenhal, but was
He's
it
telling Kristen to take Aemond and Vhagar.
yes over to Harrenhal, correct? Right.
And everyone basically talks him down from that because why send the biggest dragon away from the city? That leaves you way more vulnerable.
But Aegon offers to go himself with the patrol, and everyone's like, Aemon. The entire council's like, yeah, we you're the king. We don't need you flying around with your dragon and being a big target. You know,
Basically.
you may get killed, you idiot. As he tells him, it's a brave thought, but we can't risk your loss. And you have this floating dragon again flying around.
That is Sea Smoke. Sea Smoke is the dragon of Laenor Velaryon.
Yep, supposed to be dead.
Well, at this point, we don't know if Laenor's still alive or not.
Yeah,
So he very well could have died over across the narrow sea. We don't know.
yeah. I thought this was a very beautiful shot, so I took it. But so we have some good dialogue between Rhaenyra and the White Snake, Cream
The
Snake,
White Worm,
White Worm. Okay, there we go, White Worm. So
Mysteria.
yes. Now, in some ways, now, do you think that Mysteria got to Eric in time to save Rhaenyra's life? Because Rhaenyra's like, you saved my life, because she spotted him, the bad brother, coming off the ship.
So it doesn't, of course, show. It very well could have been that she made it there in time, found Eric, and said, "Hey, I saw your brother going into the castle," and yeah, or Eric could have just been like very intuitive to the fact that like, "Hey, I think I just saw myself, and there's an mirror right there." After they died, she could have taken the credit and been like, "Yeah, I was the one who went and got him." No one would know the difference. Yeah, we know
Yeah.
we saw him, but that doesn't mean she went and told anybody or had time to.
What she does is she asks her what she want in return. She says a place at your court. And it was pretty cool, I think, because Rhaenyra, and she says to her basically that, you could have killed me and you didn't. You showed me mercy and you let me live. And she says, she's like, your grace, you showed me grace, you could have withheld it. And you came back. She's like, yeah, I came back. I came back because of your mercy. But and she does break down that she cares about the people, and she goes, well, the people of the Red Keep and basically King's Landing be ruled by you or the usurper. But even she knows the fact that Aegon is the usurper in a sense. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the term. But did you take anything from this line right here? I kept it because Sea Smoke, she says, yeah, he's my late husband's dragon. And she goes, yeah, he seems like he's lonely. Yes, like, it's curious, like, why wouldn't that dragon pair to another rider for? Or shouldn't he be paired by now?
So, as long as Leonor's alive, that dragon's not gonna bond with any other rider. And this is something that you need to understand. Dragons can have multiple riders, but no rider can have multiple dragons.
Wow.
Laner is
Okay.
still alive. He did not bring Sea Smoke with him because it would have been too obvious that he was still alive. But Sea Smoke in that time frame has not bonded itself to another human because no other human has been brave enough to get close to the dragons. That's why there are so many dragons on Dragonstone at this time with no rideable that are rideable but have no riders. Which
Okay.
is why it's very weird that Reyna still has not had a dragon to claim in all this time.
We have this scene here. Of course, say her name because I already forgot her fucking name, but what's the daughter's name?
So this is Reyna. Reyna is the daughter of Daemon and Lena Velaryon. She's the one who has never claimed a dragon. She's the one who the whole fight with Aemon started over with to begin with. Back in season 1.
Yeah, and Rhaenyra's basically telling her that she needs her to be like a mother hen and have Aegon Viserys will accompany him, but they have to trade in a dragon for this one woman's allegiance in her army. Okay.
So Jane Eyre will give her allegiance to Rhaenyra no matter what, due to the fact that Rhaenyra is her cousin. She has no allegiance whatsoever towards the Green faction. Sending the boys there is mainly for their protection. And the same thing with Rhaena. Sending Rhaena there is mainly for Rhaena's protection. Because Rhaena doesn't have a dragon. The boys are way too small. And that's the main thing. And Rhaena says so herself. She's like, Taraxes is just a hatchling. Taraxes is Joffrey's dragon. Now, even though Rhaenyra is not physically the girl's mother, she is still their cousin because Daemon, whether you like it or not, is Rhaenyra's uncle. So they are her cousins. And she's helped Daemon raise these girls since their mother's death. So she does have a motherly bond towards both Baela and Rhaena. Sending her boys away is out of a motherly concern. And it's the same thing with Rhaena. Rhaena doesn't have a dragon. Dragonstone has been breached once. It could be breached again. She does not want to put Rhaena in that situation where she is vulnerable to anything happening. Whereas Baela has her dragon, she can protect herself. Jace has his, he can protect himself. She has hers, she can protect herself. Rhaenys has hers, she can protect herself. Rhaena doesn't have that. The boys are way too young to protect themselves. So sending them all away, best option she has.
Yeah.
To keep them all safe.
Daemon, what's he doing? Daemon's flying with his dragon Caraxes.
He is.
I got that because the captions helped me out. Thank you.
Yes, they did.
Sorry, I forgot. But
Because
so he flies.
Call him Syraxes.
Sure. Now this is Harrenhal, correct?
This is Harrenhal.
Yep, nighttime and Daemon's. I love this POV shot where you see the dragon like behind it, the camera work, and it's big long neck and it's all roaring right there, and people are like, "Hey, look, there's a dragon!" But Daemon lands, and it's seems pretty like a shitty, decrepit castle, and
Yeah,
kind of worn down. I think even Daemon. Well, Daemon, look, he's in full gear. He was expecting a fight.
he was. Harrenhal is held by House Strong, for anyone who has forgotten.
Yep.
House Strong is the house of Varys Clubfoot, the guy who has the foot fetish, who is in King's Landing.
Yeah.
And his castellan is his uncle who hates him. So he's not going to give Daemon a fight because, he's not stupid. He knows Rhaenyra's sons are his nephews. He knows that Larys is a piece of shit. He knows Larys killed his father and his brother. So he's basically like, fuck that. He's like, Prince Daemon, you're welcome here. Go ahead. Sit down. Have some.
Yeah. He shows up there and pretty instantly he's given no resistance, but he says, "Yeah, Sir Simon Strong, Castellan of Harrenhal," but he played just to Daemon. Larys Clubfoot is no lord of mine because he knows what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, my nephew, Lord Lionel, perished by fire. Bullshit. He keeps calling Daemon Prince because Prince Daemon. Of course, he's like, "Call me Your Grace," and Your Grace is only entitled for the king and queen, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Daemon's not a king or queen.
Because that's the thing is, Daemon technically is king consort. But he's not the king. Rhaenyra's the queen.
Yeah, so calling him Prince Daemon is actually, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 40,000 swords in Riverlands. Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, the Riverlands, people tend to forget, is the most populous of the Seven Kingdoms. It's the biggest land. It's where most of the battles occur due to the fact that it is smack dab in the middle of Westeros. That's why when the Northerners come down, when the Dornishmen come up, when the Crownlands come up, when the Stormlands come over, when the Westerlands come over, the raids from the Iron Islands. Harren the Black was Ironborn by birth, and he tried to settle in the Riverlands and claim it for the Iron Islands to begin with. So they are the most vulnerable to begin with, so they have to mass produce soldiers on a regular basis just to protect themselves, as well as fill in armies when war breaks out.
Why were they fighting for the Bracken and Blackwood? And just the answer to that is lost in time. At this point, why these two factions are so hateful, why they hate each other for, it's been going on for so long, we're not even sure. And that's basically what Rhaenys was telling Rhaenyra, is that, yeah, it's like, that's going to happen with us. Marching King's Landing, he's like, my Lord King's Landing. He's like, yeah, it's a big, it's a big chair made of swords. Because he mentioned the throne. The throne, yes, it's a big chair made of swords. Fucking Daemon. Boy. Now we get, so of course you know the book. Go ahead and fucking say it. But this is Allison's brother. That's all I know, Mass.
Wayne Hightower.
Yeah, and he seems to be kind of
A
dare I
dick.
say smug. I'll say towards Kristen Cole, which, I mean,
Very,
boy, this is a fucking pure pissing contest right here.
very.
He's like, oh, you serve three kings. I'm impressed, and just they're really talking down to each other. But how did you feel about Kristen wanting the blessing from Allison? Because he basically asked for a blessing, and she hands him he's like, he thanks her for her prayers, but she hands him this cloth right there. What's this whole thing about?
This is actually a thing that happens during most tournaments in Game of Thrones, in House of the Dragon. Is you'll find a female. It happened in the first episode during um the tourney for Viserys's son's birth, the heirs tourney, as they called it, where you remember Daemon going up and being like, "Will Alicent Hightower give me her favor?"
Yeah,
And then Kristen Cole asking Rhaenyra for hers, and like the one Baratheon asking Rhaenys for hers. It's basically you choose whoever you feel is like the most beautiful woman, or the person you're protecting, or anything along those lines, and you go to them and you're like, "Hey, like, so that I can win, can I have your favor as a good luck charm?" Here, of course, it has a little bit of like a sexual undertone due to the fact that they are
mhm.
lovers. So him asking her for her favor, he's basically saying like, "Hey, if you want to keep fucking me, give me your favor so that like I get back to you quicker."
Yeah, this next shot right here, I'm not sure how much CG was used or if it's a entire digital shot, but I thought just a very beautiful shot, and I love wide shots.
Oh, it's
You do
great.
see, you do see all right here, all the soldiers leaving,
Yep.
and just in the background. Could be an oil painting. I noticed that just nothing moves, so it might just be just a flat painting. But
Could
then
be.
just again, second shot right there, just lovely seeing everybody leave. Basically, from what I gather, is that the council, and I keep telling people, I'm not sure, Susan, how much money I have to save up, but this table, I want this table for Christmas. What they're saying is that they want Rhaenyra to go into hiding because how vulnerable she is, and she essentially says that if you try to rule without me, it's fucking treason.
Mhm.
They feel like she's being too passive right now, just kind of like Viserys. But the one guy says right there, the value of a sword is not within a scabbard, and they're saying she needs to start showing more force right now, and stop being so passive. Which I guess they're not wrong.
They're not, but at the same point, I also see Rhaenyra's point of view. Rhaenyra
Yeah,
still is opting to try and like resolve this peacefully as she possibly can. She doesn't want the bloodshed. She didn't want Jaehaerys to die. She sure as hell didn't want Luke to die. And the more that shit is going to go down, the more bloodshed there's going to be. And then how many more people does she care about are going to die or become like mortally wounded? Or how many
Yeah.
more like issues are there going to be between her and Damon? Or even her and Rhaenys at this point?
Now I'm pulling up HBO Max in the background, but to reflect this still, and right here, just Rhaenys way she says her exact words are, "The council would do well to remember that their queen wears the crown of my grandsire." Jaehaerys conciliator.
Conciliator.
There you go. A prudent ruler, the wise of a Targaryen kings. Conciliator.
Conciliator.
Fuck this. I'm moving on. All right. But we have another scene with Rhaenys and Corlys. Corlys only has one scene this episode, and just more of like, boy, people said these two, these two have a very great marriage. She really loves him. He really loves her, and basically, he has to go out there. He's got to be on the front lines. He can't just sit and wait. But she's very concerned about her husband's well being, which understandably so. He's been hurt before,
Yeah.
but I never got that. What's that mean? Rhaena, Lord of the Tides, his daughter. They're saying like, wouldn't his power go to his daughter or something?
So with the death of Luke, what they're talking about is who would be his heir. And right now it would either pass to little Joffrey, who's being sent away because he's too young and too vulnerable, or it would go to Rhaena, who is dragonless and a girl which there's never been a ruler of Driftmark who's been female, the same way there's never been a female heir to the Iron Throne or a ruling queen.
These places are awesome. There's no women rulers. I want to live there so bad.
And this is what Rhaenys is trying to explain to him. She's like, you can pass it to Rhaena. She's like, obviously you can't pass it to Baela. She's betrothed to Jace. Jace is going to ascend to the Iron Throne. But you can pass it to Rhaena.
Corlys, I love you. So we have another scene right here. This is, between Rhaenyra and her
Stepdaughters.
Okay, well, they're cousins too, but
They are there.
yeah, okay. He says that, so yeah, it's for you to remind Lady Jane of her pledge about, giving up her soldiers for the dragon. And she talks about being like a babes to a nursemaid, but just you have to be like a surrogate mother. That's what Rhaenyra asks of her. I'm gonna ask you right now, I'm not sure, but at some point do you think that we're gonna get some indication of the dragon eggs that Daenerys gets in Game of Thrones? Because right now I'm not sure. We see 4 dragon eggs, but I know Daenerys has 3. I'm not sure if that's gonna play into a part, but
See, so many different people believe that these dragon eggs could very well be Dany's eggs. I highly doubt it. Would it be awesome to have those be Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal? Obviously. Do I think they actually are? Not at all.
back to Alicent and talking to her daughter, because boy, last episode you were just like laying into Alicent about being mother of the fucking year.
I mean, she still isn't doing like the best job as a mom. Like, she never has. And I love what Helena says to her, where she's like, I forgive you. And it's like, oh shit. She
Yeah.
waited. He like waited, and it was great. It was worth it.
Now we get to Aegon and Valerian Steel. I know that from Game of Thrones, but he say that Valerian Steel is worth more than a castle. Okay, damn. So he talks about wearing his armor and essentially, what was it? He's playing his games and getting to Aegon's ear, getting to his head, and just he says, there's almost like there's like a leak right now within the castle, because all the information about Aegon is getting out to the people. People already know about him trying to fly behind his garrison. At this point, do you think it's fucking Laurie's doing this shit?
I mean, it could be. It could be Laurie spreading things or like saying things. He is effective in some way, shape, or form, though. Aegon wants to ride a war, but Laurice is like, well, this is what they expect of you. This is what they're expecting you to do. And like, you shouldn't do what they're expecting you to do. You do something that they wouldn't expect you to do. So it's like,
Yeah.
he's playing devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah, he does say that his father Viserys never needed a master of whispers, but I think I need one. Ugh. Is like that an official title? Master of Whispers?
That's what Varys' name was.
What's funny is his buddies here, they're not taking it seriously. Like, hey, Aegon, we should take out the one guy. He's never fucked a woman. Let's go out there. And of course, Aegon looks at them. He's like, yeah, so what about your vows of celibacy? And like, oh, yeah, sure, Your Grace. Yeah, we don't do celibacy. And yeah, wink, wink, nod, nod. And
Yeah.
look at him and they're smiling and he stopped smiling. Like,
Because here's the thing, and people take this for granted when it comes to the Kingsguard, is the Kingsguard do swear a vow of celibacy. They swear to hold no lands, father no children, lay with no woman. Their only duty in life is to protect the monarch. And that's for Aegon, despite the fact that he's like a little shit and no one likes him, well, he does make himself kind of likable.
all right, now we get this next scene come up and there's a tavern. This guy, I'm not sure who he is, what's going on, but I thought he was going to get killed. But he's telling some stories about he's the bastard son of Daemon.
No.
Oh, okay.
He's
The half brother.
He is telling them how he is the grandson of the old king, the conciliator, Jaehaerys, and they're like, "Who's your father?" And he's like, "Balon the Brave." Balon the Brave is the father of Viserys and Daemon. So therefore he's saying, Viserys and Daemon, they're my half brothers. And they're like, "Yeah, no, I see it. I see it." Like,
Yeah. Of course, yeah, like you mentioned, like, look there, you can tell by his hair. He's like, well, it's of
Prince
course,
Viserys, he's not blonde.
once he says that, the whole fucking bar stops. Like, I thought Aegon was gonna hear that, like behead him or some shit, but it didn't go that way. But I was expecting it. And yeah, so of course, Aegon's a great king. What's he do? Walks in and hey guys, guess what? Drinks are on me. It's on the crown. Everyone's like, yes, the king. He's the man. I'm sure people, I was very selective on what pictures I took of this episode because, yeah, I don't want to get banned on YouTube. But
Yeah, you really don't.
yeah, I can tell you one thing. I'm not going to harp on it, but like, there's one part. There's a woman doing things to a guy, which I'm like, I couldn't tell if that was prosthetics or that was really going on. But usually HBO doesn't get that hardcore. That's basically porn. I mean, but you know what? Whatever. But we get to a brothel, we get to see some wieners, and
But you don't know for sure if that was like a real guy. Like that very well could have been like, a stick.
that's why I say it's hard to tell because sometimes they will use prosthetics. I'm
Yeah.
like, but just, well, I've never, even in Game of Thrones, you never seen like basically a blowjob
No.
in Game of Thrones. Like that's okay. But anyway, so they find Aemond, and Aemond is he's hanging out with his mistress, we'll say, and Aegon, he's being drunk, he's being a douchebag, but boy, he's just teasing and like fucking hazing the fuck out of his brother.
Aemon gets pissed off and he's like, she's just a whore anyways, so what the hell?
Yeah, yeah, we can't show his vulnerability to everybody.
No.
But yeah, but as soon as I saw this scene, I'm like, boy, I just the one thing, Susan. I mean, after seeing Aemond and all of his manliness and glory, I thought about one thing, just
Wiener, 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 wiener.
No. No. No.
nice and soft, not erect. Anyway, it wasn't erect. So Aemond pulled out his second dragon.
He's a very small dragon.
Yeah. But now Rhaenyra's crying and she feels bad about everything. What does she do? She
Send her kids away.
was that?
She had to send her kids away.
Yeah. I was saying she's crying, things are fucked up, and what does she do? She looks at Alicent's letter and decides to read it. So Kristen and Sir Gawain, they're just trotting along, and Gawain's like, hey, we should go to an inn and get some drinks, and it's not a big deal. And Kristen out of nowhere looks up and he's like, wait a second, something seems different. It says tense music playing. As the music is playing, I'm like, you know what? Something bad about to happen. And what do you hear? Run, guys, run. There's a fucking dragon.
There's Bela.
The CGI on this was fucking fantastic. I mean, my God, I even talked to Lance about at one point when she's following these guys, she's flying over her head, and it must be the way they showed a drone or something. But when she's flying, just the point of view shot from like her point of view to the trees, it's fantastic, and I loved every second of it. What?
And the fact that she's up so high too, and she can still
Oh,
see
these
them.
shots.
Like,
Look
look
at
at
that.
fucking dragon.
And usually if I kill the volume, we should be okay for a couple seconds here. HBO, please don't fucking slay me. But look how fast this thing is. And look at vroom. That's so cool. My only curiosity to you is that easily she could have wiped them all out.
Oh
And
yeah.
why didn't she for?
So the reason she didn't is because if she wiped them all out, Rhaenyra would have known right away, like, Bela, like, why did you go down there? Like, she
Oh,
would have been going against whatever Rhaenyra told her to do. Like, she's already going against her in the first place by making herself known. Because Rhaenyra's main concern with Bela is keep yourself protected. She doesn't want any more
yeah.
of the kids to die. Not in this war. So her main goal with Bela, she keeps telling her, she's like, stay above the clouds. Keep an eye, but keep yourself hidden. Bela let herself be known.
The way she's looking down at the trees, I said, like Lance would say, it's probably a drone shot, but they have her up on a saddle, and of course the dragon's all digital, but just seems like right there, like that looks like it's like really her hovering above there. Just it's
Yeah.
so well shot, man. Like just an HBO, man. Just that's where your money's going to. So excellent shot right there. Oh, back to here, Rhaenyra again, her in the council, and she gets reports about well, she tells her what she just saw. And of course, that tells Rhaenyra, she's like, how did you get so close? Like, well, I got kind of close, but not too close. And
Yeah.
Rhaenyra kind of scolds her a little bit of it. But yeah, it was not such a great height, Your Grace. But how did you see him? How close were you?
Because she's like, how could you see them from such a great height? And she's like, wasn't that great a height?
Right there, she's like, you said not to engage, so I didn't. Exactly. That was a good line.
And I told you, that's exactly Rhaenyra's whole thing. She doesn't want anything to happen to the kids.
Yeah.
She's already lost one son. She's not going to lose one more of her kids.
Your Grace, we commend her for her sharp eyes. Now, this one to ask you. So Damon looks over and he sees his door being kind of knocked on. He's got two swords blocking it, and his door starts getting pounded like somebody's trying to get in.
Yeah.
Now, the sequence coming up now, is this a dream sequence or is this somebody casting a spell on Damon? Because House of Dragon has been pretty grounded in comparison to Game of Thrones. But Game of Thrones, later on, there's a character called Melisandre. She brings Jon Snow back to life. Magic and witches do exist in the world of Game of Thrones. So if they introduce a witch into House of the Dragon, it does make sense of this world of Game of Thrones. He sees Rhaenyra. It's I'm sorry to say it, I'm an asshole, but yes, the hot Rhaenyra.
And
He's
poor
good
little
looking. Come on.
Rhaenyra, what's she doing? She's sewing her nephew's neck and head back together.
Why does he see young Rhaenyra versus modern day Rhaenyra? That's what I
So,
understand.
because that's the thing with Damon, even though he's married to modern day Rhaenyra, his closeness, his love, his like this version of Rhaenyra is his Rhaenyra. And it always has been and it always will be. It's this version of Rhaenyra that he feels that he's disappointed. Because this is naive, vulnerable Rhaenyra. Whereas the Rhaenyra he's married to now, she's an adult, she's a mother, she's seen the world in some degree.
Do you think Damon feels guilt now? Because that's Damon's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I think Damon felt guilty the moment they found out that it was Jaehaerys that was killed.
it's hard to tell with him. But I guess either he wakes up or snaps out of it. I'm not sure what happens, but he ends up in a courtyard, and we don't get to see for like one scene, but this character, and you know what? I texted you. People were questioning, but who is this character? I guess, and it's a witch.
Her name is Alice Rivers.
Okay.
She is either the baseborn daughter of Lionel Strong, or she is a 1,000-year-old witch who is there to kill people and remain young. It's said that she can cast spells. It's said that she is extremely evil.
So we get back to Rhaenyra, and basically Rhaenyra says that she wants to talk to Alicent. If she can get to her one-on-one, she can have a conversation with her. And of course, everybody's against it. Well, the few people she tells, she's not telling everybody. That'd be pretty secret. But she talks to the White Worm here, and she says that if I'm recognized, but it's kind of funny, but not. It's true in the sense that she goes, well, if you just dress down and you don't wear makeup, like no one's going to recognize you as just being Rhaenyra. Like they'll recognize the queen, but they won't recognize you. And she knows where to find her alone. I'm not sure if you called this out or because I'm an idiot and I have trouble seeing things, but like when she says that there's one place that Allison will be alone, you can find her. The first thing I'm thinking is, what's the one place Allison always goes to by herself and says her prayers? And I called it, which I couldn't believe I actually got it right for a change. Like she was saying, you're dressing down as not being the queen. Nobody recognizes you. So Lance was telling me that these sets were great here. These because apparently some of this season was filmed in Spain.
I think I told you that before, that anything to do with King's Landing normally gets shot in Spain,
Oh, okay.
as well as Dorne.
Yeah. But Allison is walking to say her prayers and down by herself, and I was wondering what Rhaenyra would say to her. I do think that Rhaenyra bringing a fucking knife was probably not the best way to start a conversation. Yeah, right there. I've begun badly. Allison's like, oh God, you idiot. But talks about the day her brother was born, and essentially, I mean, you can narrate this as well, but Rhaenyra just says to her that she doesn't want this. She doesn't want this war. And what was it? Allison's like, okay, so are you here to turn yourself into bend the knee? And she goes, no, I don't want to bend the knee. I want to come to an agreement. This is the problem because both these characters think that they have the right to the throne. That's the issue.
Yeah.
But she's like, I've come to see if we may uncover some path towards peace. But she's like, yeah, I'm a mother too, and you've yet to answer for the murder of my son. That's a problem. Now they're going back and forth about, okay, who did what? What about Aemon's eye? What about this? What about that? And like, just stop it. That's what Rhaenys was talking about. Yeah, she says, Viserys, he did love you, and I think Viserys did love Alicent in his own right, not as much as his first wife, but he did care about Alicent.
He cared about her. He loved her. He was not in love with her.
Yeah,
He was in love with Emma.
and Alicent does tell Rhaenyra that she was there on his deathbed. She's like, I swear this to you on the memory of my mother that he changed his mind. And of course, we know it. If Rhaenyra knows it, Rhaenyra's like, look, my father wanted me to be the heir my entire fucking life. He would not change his mind. And Alicent's vehemently saying, yes, he did change his mind, but like, and she says, "Well, you know what? I think you would make a fine queen." Oh shit, Alicent said that, but your father changed his mind. And of course, and this is the part I was waiting for. Another great scene in this episode, Susan, because okay, what did he say? What was his last words? Tell me. That was kind of hard to understand sometimes, but he mentioned, to unite the realm, and he mentioned a song of ice and fire. Like, oh shit,
Prince that was promised.
the prince I was promised too. And, wait, he used those words? It's like he spoke to you because you know it. Like he never mentioned
The Song of
the
Ice and Fire.
now Rhaenyra has that like, oh wait a second. And of course, you said this last season. He did say Aegon to Alicent, but like Rhaenyra just clicked in her head. What we know and Alicent didn't know is that yes, he did say Aegon, but not your son Aegon. That's the thing, because he thought he was talking to Rhaenyra the entire time. Hey, this changes everything. But Alicent's like, you know what? It doesn't change anything because the bottom line is it's too late. We're in too deep. There's nothing we can do at this point. Best thing you can do, Rhaenyra, is leave. Overall, I think a very good episode. The main complaints I'm seeing from people on the interwebs, Twitter, YouTube comment section is people are upset because this is episode 3 and there's still no big battle sequences yet. There's no action going on. And I'm like, well, I understand that war is brewing. This is House of the Dragon. But people, if you are a fan of Game of Thrones or not a fan of Game of Thrones, that if you go back and watch the first 4 seasons, maybe even season 5, Game of Thrones was not about big battle sequences. It was about political intrigue. You did have some dragons peppered here and there, a couple fight scenes, but nothing big and huge. House of the Dragon may get into that later on, but there is a build up. We have to have, you can't have, this season only has 8 episodes. You can't have every episode be a 45-minute battle sequence.
It's harder with this season than it was with last season due to the fact that last season there were 10 episodes. This season there are 8. So I see where people are talking about like, oh, there needs to be more battles. This is still the beginning of the war. And if they want this thing to go on for a couple more seasons or however long they want it to go on for, you're going to need to give some spanning on it because certain characters need to grow up, certain characters need to die off, certain characters need to be introduced. There's so much to unpack and unfold throughout this series. And in the end, not everyone's going to survive. I personally I don't mind all the political intrigue. I don't mind all of the setup for it. Sometimes those big freaking battle sequences, as awesome as they look, sometimes they make no fucking sense.
Any stand-up performances, any stand-up dialogue, just again for me, Rainey's was my favorite part of this episode. I don't think that any actor in season 1 or season 2 does what we call phoning it in. Everybody's fantastic in what they're given, and obviously with a big ensemble cast like this, some characters get more screen time than others, which is going to happen. If I had to rate this episode, I would say, I don't want to give everything 10 out of 10, but I think for me, I think a good 8 out of 10 is good. I did like it a lot, but yes, I do want to see some battle sequences. Me giving episode 8 out of 10 is not a bad marker by any means. I just don't want to give every single fucking thing 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. It gets kind of cliche. But if somebody said this was kind of slow for them, I understand that. But for me, I'm fine with the slowness because we get so much character development, unpacking what's happening between, Rhaenyra, Alicent, Aegon, Aemon, so much shit's going on. I don't mind like the slower episodes.
The best way to describe it is, what's your rosebud of the episode? What's your lemon of the episode? So, rosebud obviously being what's the good parts, lemon being what's the bad parts. Rosebud obviously loved Rhaenys like you did. She kills it. And someone's actually made this comment in the past where they said Rhaenys is such a good dialogue character when it comes to things, but the problem is they don't put her in enough scenes where she can own the scene herself. They always have her playing off of someone like Corlys or Rhaenyra or Daemon, and they don't give her enough her time. Honestly, I loved with the time with Rhaenyra and Rhaena. I thought that was good, where Rhaenyra's trying to explain to her like why she's sending her away, why she's sending the younger boys away. But that's all I got.
I say I hope this audio should come out way better, and this was a way better setup just being in separate rooms. So
Yeah.
as I said, I'll get this out as fast as possible. I'm sorry if this isn't, the day after the episode. It's just, these videos take time to edit, guys. But thank you for being patient. We're getting some decent views. Again, I'm not like a big YouTuber with 10,000 subscribers, but we get a couple hundred views, and I appreciate every single person dumb enough to watch us bullshit about House of the Dragon. All right, we're out of here.